So, Mr. O'Shea, how are things?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad.
Good
Just
to meet you, man.
back from work. So busy, busy.
Yeah,
What are you up to
yeah,
at the
I'm
moment?
still at work.
Yeah.
I'm just tracking a band here, just in the studio tracking a band. So they're next door rehearsing, getting ready for a long night.
Oh,
So
actually, I do miss that. I used to before,
yeah,
but
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
when it goes into 2 or 3 a.m. and you're just studio delirium sets in, you're like,
yeah, yeah,
it's never going to end. And for some
yeah,
weird reason, I miss it.
yeah.
So,
I kind of like it. I've kind of spent most of my life in that kind of state, so I like it.
yeah,
I think that's what we wanted when we were children, or
yeah,
when we fell in love with the art form. So it's
that's
kind
it.
of,
Like
I think it's a big part of it. Jet lag, studio lag.
studio delirium, and you're just like
Yeah,
time
exactly.
just smashes together, and you're like, I'm here 4 hours and I'm still working on the same song.
A
you know,
song or the same hi hat in the second
yeah,
verse.
I know it's mad. Yeah, like you find like do you prefer say doing a big studio or the way bands are doing it now? They're doing it remotely and stuff like that.
Um, I think that all depends on the song and what the band are particularly going for. If you're in a good room, obviously drum recordings are very much based on having a proper acoustic environment.
Yeah,
Um, but I think if a song is arranged really well, it can be done in any spot.
yeah,
I do feel that I'm kind of one of those people that I go, drums have to be in a good drum room,
yeah,
you know. Drummer is, the room is as important as the drummer when it comes to recording rock
mm,
music.
yeah,
Obviously, that's changing now with the Gojiras and with the Meshuggah stuff and all that, where a lot
yeah,
of it's programmed anyway and it can be done anywhere. And a lot of the metal stuff now
yeah,
can be done anywhere. And, but still, well recorded drum sounds are generally in special kinds of room, are in
yeah,
special rooms. Like I was listening to the Idols today, they record in a cellar, but it's
yeah,
a very special cellar, you know what I
yeah, yeah.
mean, in a
It's
in a
like
big studio.
I did an
So
album
I
with a
think you can't do the preamps.
Yeah, I did an album with a guy called Stu Madsen. He's from Denmark, and
Yeah.
up until recently, he was doing all his drums in a swimming pool,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah,
shouldn't
which
have.
makes complete
Yeah,
sense. Yeah.
it shouldn't have worked because it's tiles and everything, but it did. I don't know how he did.
Yeah. I think you can make anything work. You can make anything work as long as it works for the band.
Yeah, but I'm
Um,
I'm mostly kind of on about the vibe, like say a band together as a group, as a team, putting it together, instead of guys coming in and out, you know.
Separately, yeah. I think if it's a band, it has to come from the rehearsal
Mm.
room, and there has to be pre-production leading up to the recording of the session. I think I kind of come from that idea that like fail to prepare, prepare to fail.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
that's it.
I think the band, the buck stops at the band. You can only do best job you can.
Yeah,
The equipment will only get you so far. The rooms will only get you so far. But the songs have to be good. The tempos have to be good. The arrangements have to serve the song. The keys have to serve the singer. Um, the band have to play for one another opposed to for themselves. And it's a kind of it's very much comes from the band. The best recordings come from the band, and the
yeah,
energy comes from the band. You can't
yeah.
really create that.
Yeah, there's also moments of like last minute magic, like where I've had moments where literally
Yeah,
before the record button is pressed, I'm like, what if I played this riff this way? Oh my God, literally in the last 11th hour before it's tracked,
yeah,
and it changes the vibe of the song completely.
completely. And I think, but that can only come when you know the song inside out.
This is true.
That that our you can kind of like people talk obviously because we're in such a technical world, um and stuff changes all the time and people have different opinions on this.
Yeah,
um that I think at the end of the day, you still need to really know the songs
Yeah,
inside out, you know, like that's the most important thing. The band themselves have to know their instrument, have to have an interaction with
yeah,
themselves, with each other. It's like a marriage. They have to know all the different nuts and crannies and work on their piece of the puzzle in a very fluent way, you know,
yeah. And
in
there's some,
order to be able to elastic band it, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
make things
There's
move.
moments then where like a band member will suggest something, and like would that change have happened if that person wasn't in the room with you? You know,
Yeah, yeah,
I miss,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
So
I miss
I'm a
those.
total believer in pre-production. I'm a bit of, you know, I feel that pre-production now can be done, demos have to be done. There has to be an amount of demos done before a final product. And
Yeah,
if that's not done, it's always missing out. There's always a hole in it in the end, you know.
yeah. Kind of it's kind of the opposite of what we did with the My Own Cults thing. We all recorded remotely and wrote remotely, which I've never done
Yeah,
before. And like
yeah,
it sounds cool and all, but I don't know if we'll ever play it live. You know,
yeah.
you'd have to
Well,
ask
it just
Tony that.
comes, yeah, yeah. It comes kind of different, doesn't it? It's
Yeah, it
kind of an
does.
unusual thing. I didn't know that when I listened to it, so I didn't. I took it at face value, and
That's
I
good.
think that's more for the artists. That's being an artist. That's your interpretation is the right interpretation, not
Yeah,
anybody or not any third party. You know,
yeah,
obviously, as a producer and a mixer, I feel like I have to serve up the meal, so I'm just a chef. So
yeah,
I kind of sort out those holes and try to make a perfect meal for the listener as much as I can, you know.
yeah,
But working like that can be. I'm working with two bands at the moment remotely, and we're doing it, but we're demoing really hard
yeah.
before we go for the real one, you know.
So
I
it's
just
like
want to
draft, like
focus
it's draft after
draft.
draft. Yeah.
Draft after draft,
Oh,
you know,
I
like
hate
4 or 5.
that.
Yeah. And then because obviously we're trying to find where the singer, obviously music is about the singer and the singer
Yeah,
is what you have to, you know, the singer is everything. So the singer has to be comfortable and has to be in a nice BPM, a nice key, and a
yeah.
comfortable space in order to deliver something that's pleasurable to the listener.
I know. I'm sure there's been
You know?
moments where you're writing and then the singer comes along and he's like, "What the hell, lads?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I can't sing down there, you know. It's
What
not
have you?"
negative. Yeah, yeah. You just, you know. Yeah, that happened. But like, I kind of feel that you have to look at that stuff so intently, and
Yeah.
I think bands are generally the worst people to look at tempos and keys with
Oh
because
yeah.
they've been living with the song for so long.
Yeah.
They have lost sight of the simple things.
Like,
First of all,
yeah.
yeah.
What's happening with me in mind right now? God, I hope Tony's not listening. Is
Yeah,
I'm still adjusting to my role in the band because in previous bands it's usually me that's doing, say, most of the writing. So
yeah,
I bring stuff to the band, you know, and they take what they need from it. But I have what's called demo-itis, where I'm just
yeah,
too
yeah.
fond of
That's
what
it.
I've written.
Yeah,
So when
yeah,
the guys take it and start picking it apart, I'm like, oh God. You know,
yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
like, what are you doing
What
to
do you
it?
do? Yeah,
You know,
I
and
think that. Yeah,
it's like
I
a
think that's the worst thing, and I think that's you got to be so careful of that. You know,
yeah,
that's the biggest enemy. The demotitis is the
mm,
biggest enemy of being happy with an end result.
yeah, it
Everything
is.
about you know, it's like a bad clutch in your car. It's just not pulling the way it should be if you
Yeah,
you know, because
uh,
obviously you're just trying to build a roadmap.
yeah,
And you know, and if the ideas are good, they'll come back towards the end of the roadmap.
yeah, yeah.
But
That's the
if
bit
you're
I'm working
fighting
on.
those, you know, but like the worst thing I think I've came across is like demotitis and tempotitis,
Yeah,
where people think they know the tempo of the song and they just don't have a clue. You know
yeah,
what I mean? And even me, when I was a musician playing, it was the tempo that the producers always worked on.
Yeah.
You know, because I think once you write a song, you start adjusting your tempos, and each member comes in to play the song, and it keeps getting adjusted so that people can learn it and learn it. And
Yeah.
by the time you get to the recording, there's
Yeah.
about 20 BPM of a difference in
I know.
what you initially played when you played the guitar,
Because and
or
then when you finally go to tour it, then you end up playing it way faster.
way
you know,
faster. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've done
Which
I've
can
done
be,
that
yeah,
I've done that loads of times.
yeah. Yeah, and that's, you know, and obviously through touring you start to kind of get it kind of in a nice, pleasant area, you know. So
Yeah.
kind of, but that's confidence. And I suppose when we were kids getting Metallica bootlegs, they were always 20, 30 BPM too fast, you
They
know.
were very
You
excited band.
know?
They were.
Yeah, and you know, like that's, you know, that's kind of just the overexcitement, I suppose, or
But
want to impress.
that's it. Speaking of like, say when you were a musician, like I did really enjoy the Cyclefly stuff, but I didn't really know too much about the band itself. You know,
Yeah,
so like,
yeah,
so if you want to take us through, like, say how the band came about.
yeah. Well, we just formed out of we just came up with a plan. There were the three French lads were living in Cork, and myself and my brother were in France, which is kind of weird
Yeah.
that we were in France and they were in Cork. And then we came back one Christmas and they asked us to join, and we came up with an idea, you know. They
Yeah.
were kind of doing a Black Crows type thing
Yeah.
at the time because it was the early 90s. So
Yeah.
we
So they
kind of
were
came
huge.
back and said, you have to cut your hair and stop wearing flares and cowboy boots, and we'll do it. Um, and we got to get into the grunge thing because obviously we were Alice in Chains and
Yeah.
Jane's Addiction and all that, and which was, in fairness, was pretty easy. But
Yeah. I
so
could hear that.
we
Like,
worked really hard, man. Like that's one thing. We went to the rehearsal room 5 days a week, and we worked really, really hard.
like, did you
Um,
have kind of an idea of a direction in mind, or were you just throwing
no,
ideas together?
we we kind of we decided that we wanted to do it as a profession, so we started the band as a professional entity,
Yeah.
which kind of killed us in the end because we never really developed our relationships, you know.
Yeah.
We just wanted it to be amazing music, you know,
Yeah.
and we put everything into that pot, which was obviously paid us off because we had a really
You did.
amazing career, you know.
You
So we
did.
kind of came up with a 4 year plan, and in the 4 year plan paid off. I think on the second year, I sat down with a fool's cap, and I came up with the next 2 years plan. And
Yeah.
within 15 months or 16 months, we'd a record deal, we'd management, we were going to LA to record, we were on tour. So I'd say to bands all the time, just make a plan, write down a plan, look at
Yeah.
what you need to do and what you have to do. So I think that was the main thing, you know, that we actually, we worked really hard. We rehearsed 5 days a week.
Yeah.
We had a house in the countryside and we went there every day and we rehearsed really hard. It initially started out that we were kind of, obviously everyone was demo coming out with the stuff, and we ended up
Yeah.
with 80 songs, and then the label got involved. Sylvia Massey came in and chopped down the songs, and that's the way it went, you
Yeah.
know what I
What
mean?
was it
Instead
like?
of
What was it working with Sylvia?
really good,
Yeah,
really
she's
good.
awesome.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, I'm doing one of these with her in a couple of weeks, actually.
Oh, sweet. That's cool.
Um, so no, really good, and it was really just so incredible because I was kind of coming from, like, I had my three top producers that I wanted to work with at the time,
Yeah.
and she was number one,
Sweet.
and Butch Vig was number two, and I think Garrett was number
Oh,
three, and we
yeah.
got our number one choice because I
Mm.
was a huge, I don't like saying it now because of what they became, but I was a huge Tool fan in the early 90s.
Oh, what's wrong with what they became?
Well, obviously they're status quo, you know.
Oh,
They just do the same
controversial.
thing.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
just a clever version of themselves, you know.
yeah. I did get
But
that vibe from the latest album. It was like,
yeah, yeah.
you know,
But in the 90s, there was no better band in the world, you know.
oh
And
yeah,
then we got to tour with them, do gigs
oh
with them.
sweet.
They were just amazing people, amazing band. One of the greatest bands of the 90s and one of the
Mm,
greatest bands ever, you know.
it's
But
true.
like the last album, like I was just very disappointed.
Yeah,
I was
I think
just so disappointed.
I
I
think
was
it.
like, I knew what chord they were going to go to next, and I knew where the melody was going, and I was
Yeah,
like, oh no.
I
It
think
was
what
like,
was the biggest letdown for me for that album was there was no big song from it. You know, there
yeah,
was no
yeah,
Vicarious or Stinkfist or
or the pot, or
yeah, there was no.
yeah,
See, it was just a big.
yeah.
Here's your bowl
But
of
in
music
saying
there.
that, I still listen to it, and
Oh
I
yeah,
still watch when they started on tour a few months ago in the States. I was straight on watching the
yeah,
video, so I like,
yeah.
maybe it's you know, I
It's
love
all
the
good.
band, but I think I was just very disappointed with the last
Yeah.
offering.
Well, like there
But
was a little bit
that's
of
not what I
anticipation,
think.
you know.
Yeah, I
You know.
think 14 million sales, 14 million band income for 10 gigs at the
Yeah.
start of the year. Not
Jesus.
bad.
That's
Who are
that's
we
not too
to have an
shabby.
opinion? Like, yeah,
Anyway,
but
it's mad.
they're still amazing, and they're carrying something for the prog rock thing, and
Yeah.
students and bands love them, and they introduce people to the instruments,
Yeah.
and so they're definitely really good for the rock world, because obviously the rock world is struggling to gain new audiences, so they
It
need
is.
bands like that.
Yeah.
And it's
It's
becoming. I was at a rock show on Thursday night, and there was 3,000 people, and there was no one under 40.
oh no. Oh, that's a
And
bad
they're kind
sign.
of, you know, and so it's kind of a bit, you just want to
Yeah.
see, whereas Tool will generate young fans
Yeah,
just
they will.
like, so which is really, really good,
It is hard,
just like
like,
Machine Gun Kelly will, and, these people, you know.
yeah, there's no like new say bands like that coming, to that level. Like overall, really. It's kind of
Yeah.
it's a bit of a shame. But
Yeah, and I think that's a lot to do with the way people are making records now. It's very individual, and it's everyone got a computer, everyone's got their Focusrite sound card, and
yeah,
and people, when we were going as a band, you just concentrated on your instrument.
yeah. Whereas
Um,
right now you're doing everything else,
yeah,
management stuff, and
you got concentrated on your instrument. You went to the studio, and the engineer told you what a mic was, and
yeah,
the producer told you what an arrangement was, and you left it in their hands.
yeah.
Whereas now people think they're producers and mixers and arrangers, and they think they're a guitar player. Or we're being fed by the internet that we need to know all this extra
Yeah.
knowledge.
Meanwhile,
Um,
you're like, where's the song?
Where's the song? Yes, exactly. And I still believe that you have to go to the practice room, and you have to bury it, like get it all together and put all your eggs in the basket and see what comes out. And I think that's what made us work. And in the end, it worked really, really well. We had, with that thing, that's what we done. We had 80 songs. Label management came in, we got it down to 30 songs. Then the producer came in, got it down to 16 songs,
Yeah,
um, and that was kind of more or less it,
yeah.
and that's the way it worked. And it
I
just
was
happened then that there were myself and my brother songs, and that was what we done.
That's pretty cool.
So it
It's
just
like I
ended
was
up,
actually I was listening to it last week as research, and like
yeah,
I was still in school when this came out.
yeah, yeah. Oh Jesus, yeah,
It's a great
yeah,
album. It still sounds really good. I mean,
yeah.
yeah, it's awesome. How was
Yeah,
the tour?
I haven't heard it. I haven't heard it since before it came out.
Oh, really? You're one of those
Yeah.
I just don't listen to it kind of things.
No,
Yeah, I get that.
no, no, I don't. I've no interest. And
Oh,
but
really?
people do say it to me. Like, and people come to me and say that, like, they like the album, and producers say it, and we always had kind of high profile people telling us, and even
Yeah,
it still carries, you know what I mean?
it does. Like my favorite part was the choruses. You wrote some really great choruses.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
even musically, the whatever choice of chords you had for the chorus, loved it.
yeah. It's
You
called
know,
not knowing what chords are.
fair, fair enough.
Yeah.
Oh
And
my
I
god.
think as well, like we were saying with the recording, like we had a Boss compressor pedal, SM58,
Yeah.
an 8-track that sounded like absolute junk, and a Studio Master desk that sounded like shite, an 8-track reel to reel,
Oh my
um,
god.
and it was just junk. But we
Yeah.
made really, really good songs with those things, so we didn't care. And I think
Yeah.
that's why it sounds good, because Sylvia came in and she came to Cork, and we went to a studio in Blackpool, and Sylvia kind of pushed us hard for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Pushed us really hard, and we kind of created something really special and went to LA, and done a really, really good job. It was
Did it like
just a
did
real
it hit you at any
experience.
moments where you're like, we're in LA now doing an album? Did like the reality of it hit at any point? Because I know I'd be freaking out. I think.
No, I think that because we set out, I think in my head, really, that's all I ever wanted to do. And I was like, I knew at a certain age that I just wanted to work in music.
Yeah.
Um, and I knew exactly where I was, and I was totally, I was totally into it. I engrossed myself with music growing up. Spent everything, every penny I had went on music. Um, every and it still does. You can see
Yeah.
around you there. It's
Yeah.
just that's what happens.
That's awesome.
Um, that's what I was into. So I just thought that it was all stepping up into the big leagues. I
Yeah.
just thought we were heading for the big leagues. That's what I would have said. And we were coming in, like you Cormac battle on last week.
Yeah.
We were in the studio they were after doing On the Turn. We were in the same studio with the
Yeah.
same engineer a year later.
That's cool. And you didn't
Uh,
go over budget like they did.
yeah, but they're like, I know, yeah, that was just, but hey, and we did like, so, obviously Curb Dog were doing really good business at that point. They had the
Hmm.
top of the pops, and they had a lot of stuff under their belt at that point. They were on their second album. Um, Whereas we were thrown straight into the
Yeah.
fire. And
It's a good
like we'd
point.
Bruce
Part like
Dickinson there, and Rick Springfield, and
yeah.
Frank Black, and the people we were hanging out with in the
Yeah.
studio in Sound
Yeah.
City, obviously, which is famous now.
It's awesome
So
though.
I was kind of interested, and it's done on that famous console.
The famous one. Yeah. But like what was the tour like for that album? Did you go straight out on your own or supports or
I'm trying to think now,
I
man.
remember you were in Crying
Oh,
and Metal
God.
Hammer a lot back then.
Oh, yeah, well, we
Yeah.
were really on an upward gradient. We were really banging at that point.
Mm.
Um, we were, I think we went out a lot on our own, and then we went out with some amazing bands. But obviously, when you're on that level, you're going out with some amazing bands that never break through.
Yeah.
Like we were out with this band, the Polkas, which were amazing. They were on, oh God, that English label.
Polkas. Oh, they were on Earache, I think.
Earache, yeah,
Yeah.
and they were really good buddies, like really good mates.
Yeah.
And we were out with Pitch Shifter a lot,
Oh, nice.
and then we done some Iggy Pop dates
Sweet.
in the States. Done a American tour with Live,
That's pretty cool. That's
uh,
interesting.
and just done. Oh, there's so many
Yeah.
gigs, man. I can't
The,
really remember.
the
And then
loud
we were on like Three Colors Red tours and all these
yeah,
different ones, at
I
the
remember.
time what was happening. Um, but and then at the end of it, which was probably the best tour we done, and the first time that we felt like we belonged, even though was on the Bush tour, we finished it with
Yeah.
Bush. finished that tour. The end of that tour was with Bush.
That's
And
cool.
that was amazing because the audience totally embraced us on that tour. It was
Yeah,
crazy.
Bush
And
were
then,
huge at that point as well.
yeah, they were humongous. And they treated us really well. And it was a really great tour, you know.
Yeah,
And we had people, like the crowds were singing the songs back, and it was a full package, you know. It was really amazing tour. I
yeah, that
think
sounds
that,
awesome.
and then like we'd Reading and Leeds and all those festivals, and we done Woodstock, and
Yeah,
that.
actually, I read about that earlier. I only realized that you did play Woodstock, that famous '99 one. I read that earlier,
Yeah, yeah,
but like
the burning.
you only found out about the chaos after you left. Am
Yeah,
I right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
My God, what was that like? Just like lads, you won't believe what's happening back there.
yeah. No, it was the Woodstock thing was just amazing. What I remember about Woodstock is Brian Stetzer. He
All
was
right.
great. He was brilliant. And I'm not really a fan of that genre of
Yeah,
music, but when you see it live, it's really
yeah.
jaw-dropping. Um, and we were sharing a dressing room with Porno for Pyros, which
Oh,
was pretty cool.
that's cool.
And so I got to meet Perry Farrell,
Yeah.
who like who you know huge fans. We're huge fans of
Yeah.
Jane's Addiction. I think that
I'd
they
say
were
Declan was like, fucking
huge fan,
just Declan was
huge fan
probably
of
like,
Perry Farrell. Yeah, I think he was just. We were just couldn't believe because they.
starstruck.
Yeah, yeah, and then like John Ennis, I've just hanging out with George Clinton and John Entwistle,
Yeah.
and oh man, it's just like when you think about it now, it's so far away, you know,
It's still
so
cool to
far
look
away.
back on, you know?
Yeah, but then but the wheel was coming off the truck at
Oh,
that point.
oh
Yeah,
no. Was that around the time you had to look towards your next album?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Still have it.
So,
I
and
still
we had,
listen to it regularly, actually, like at least once or
yeah,
twice a year. You know?
yeah. The second album's really good.
Mm.
I hope that Universal will release it at some point, or allow it to be released.
Oh,
Um, but I suppose it will in the 25 years when we can have it back.
oh, is that
Um,
what the deal is?
yeah, yeah, generally, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
well,
Well, it just depends.
yeah. Well, it's up on Spotify for anyone who wants to listen to it. You know.
Crave isn't, is it?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it on Spotify?
Both albums. Yeah.
Are they? Cool. It
Yep.
must
Yeah.
be just gone up. I don't even check, dude.
Somebody's getting pennies and pennies and pennies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but it does like the difference between those two albums is like really like stark. Like it's really big. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what you want really as you're going
Yeah,
along. You
yeah, I
know.
think we went into that album, that album, we just we went into it really strong. Um, but I think everybody just wanted it to work so bad, we kind of tripped each other up. I think that's the
Yeah.
best way to look at it. You know, it
Yeah.
was, it was kind of the first album definitely had an awful lot of direction and it was really focused, whereas the second one was extremely difficult album,
Yeah.
overall. But it still came out really well, and I'm really
Did yeah.
proud of it.
There's a
So
lot of variety
yeah,
on it. Like there's
yeah, there's a lot of variety, but that's the problem. Like,
oh right.
I- you just want to
Yeah,
be easy and have one style.
it's true. Like
I
the
think
first album for me had like more of a punk feel, whereas
yeah, I
this
think it had a thread running through it, whereas the
yeah
second one. The second one, we forgot what we were and we wanted to be something else. We thought we wanted to be, um, I felt, my personal opinion, obviously, I don't
yeah
really know what everybody else feels,
yeah
but my personal opinion was that um, we were trying to be Radiohead and we were a fucking million miles away from them. Like the Sultans of Ping were more Radiohead than Cyclefly.
yeah. It was
Um,
still like the same.
and that kind of caused us huge
Like
problems.
it's still the same. It had really good choruses again.
Yeah,
Which were
yeah,
the most important thing.
yeah.
But
Yeah, I think Yeah, myself and the brother, we were exceptional at the choruses. That's what
Mm.
we done exceptionally well, you know.
I think my favorite track on that was Weary. I think
Yeah,
that's a great
yeah,
song.
that's really good.
Yeah.
And that wasn't supposed to be on the
Oh really?
record. That was just that's just on the European edition.
Oh yeah, it has
It
special
wasn't
edition
on the
written on it.
American version.
Oh,
Which,
yeah, it says special edition on this one. So
yeah, that's why the Weary, you got the Weary version.
yeah,
Because
oh, that's
at
cool.
the time, for European markets, you have to have an extra song.
Yeah, that's
So,
similar with Japanese as well. You need extra tracks in there too.
you need, I think, three for Japan. It's like,
Oh really? Yeah.
yeah. And I still have some unreleased songs from that album on that I must pull out at some point.
Yeah. Would you though? Would you consider releasing them or wait for the right
Ah,
moment?
no interest. I think that
Oh,
the stuff, I think that you kind of move on in your life, don't you? And you
you do,
just,
yeah. But
yeah,
it's
but
like
maybe just something will come out at some point. I,
like you'd like one of your favorite bands to do it, you know.
yeah, 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 yeah.
You know, and then you
It's
have to think
kind of
of
weird.
somebody
But I,
considers me their favorite band, you know.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So
You know, if yeah, and I think we all, you know, I don't know, has anybody got a DAT machine anymore? You know,
I'm
I'm in
sure
Berlin.
somebody does.
Everyone has a DAT machine in Berlin. It's all tape. Everyone's into tape and stuff
Just
here.
send it to Sylvia. She seems to be because I follow her on Facebook, and every day
Yeah,
she shoots something really crazy in the studio, and it's really interesting.
yeah, yeah.
You know, and
She's
uh,
brilliant. She's such an amazing girl, amazing producer, amazing woman, amazing. Just one of the greatest, most enlightened person I think I've ever met.
yeah, and
You know.
it was unusual to have like a female producer back in the '90s say do these top
Yeah,
bands, you know.
yeah. I think she was just
So
so good, man. She was so good
trailblazer,
at
like
her
you know,
job. Yeah, and she worked so hard and she really individualized everything. I think that was her key. To once the band has their work done,
yeah,
she worked on the individual. You know what I mean? And she just worked really, really hard, you
yeah.
know, on the individual. You know,
Then
there was nobody was allowed in the room with the other person that she
oh
was
really?
in there was getting this stuff done, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
So
you know, she worked you really, really hard, you know, but on a real personal level.
yeah.
So it made it very, very special, you know.
Do you find that you carried that on with you when you're producing a band?
Yeah, I try to. I don't like when there's other people around.
Yeah.
I don't
Do
like when I'm recording the singer and the guitar players in the room. I really do. I think it's so unfair on the singer. I
yeah.
think when the guitar player's recording and the bass player's in the room, I think it's so unfair. I think it's
Yeah.
so unfair. Um,
Yeah. Too many chefs kind of situation.
yeah, and I think that the performer, if you're rehearsed and you've your pre-production done and your demos done,
Yeah.
you, you know where you are. The band knows where you are, and it's for
Yeah.
you to accelerate from there, not to be having conversations with someone. I
Yeah, it's true.
remember, yeah, yeah. So I've totally taken that into my production thing. You know, I felt a lot of 90% of the mistakes I've seen in studio are caused by bands being together in studios.
Oh, so if you want to talk, take a break and go outside, then talk. But my house in here kind of situation.
Yeah, and just deal with like, think about the person who's performing. They don't get to be in studios all the time. They've got nerves to start off with. Don't be, you know, don't be messy, you
Yeah.
know.
I feel bad
Try
for
and
my
lift them, you know, because
I feel bad
everybody.
for my like my old band singer. I feel bad for him because we were recording in France for our album, and he was the last one to record. He was waiting all week for it, and we were in the room.
Oh
Like
no,
he was out in the booth, but we were in the control room. And I
yeah.
think maybe that was a bit of
I
an
think that
intimidating
what
thing.
makes Generation Sap very special. The drums were finished, the drummer was sent home. Bass was finished, player was sent home.
Yeah,
Lead guitar player was finished, he was sent home. Singer was finished, he was sent home.
yeah.
And
But
then
we were all in
I
France,
stayed
so
with
we
the
couldn't go
mix.
anywhere except the beach. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Whereas Sylvia Wireless, that's what made Sylvia amazing, was she really focused on the individual and gave the individual so much respect.
yeah,
Gave each musician so like you felt when you were working with Sylvia as a musician, and I'm sure everyone else feels the same. Do you felt you were getting 100% of her
Yeah,
ears,
it
and
was
you were
like,
giving her the best you possibly could. And when you're on your own with the producer, without the band, you feel that they're totally behind you and
yeah,
giving you respect to
it's like
do.
your time to shine kind of thing.
It's your time to shine.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so I
I
kind of,
rarely get that. Like,
yeah. So,
but
and I think that that's maybe something that I've took with me from that session that I never really changed. You
well,
know, I would say that
well,
100%
hopefully
later.
I'll get to experience that.
Yeah,
You know, maybe
you
the
know,
next Mind Ride album after this one.
yeah, yeah.
But
But I think
oh,
my Mind Riot are quite grungy and they're quite like go in and do it. But I think the next Mind Riot album, you know, will
y-
be
yeah, it
really good.
sounds we're 5 songs deep at the moment, and
Mm.
yeah, it sounds very different to Brothers.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Well,
still
Brothers
Tony.
was a kind of mix mash of concepts, and we were kind of blending it in and then trying to make it all cohesive in the end because there was a bunch of different sessions,
Yeah,
and feeling it out. And then obviously using a single coil pickup, which Tony, if he's listening, he'll go mental for me saying it, which was so problematic. You know, trying to make that kind of music with a Telecaster is quite.
I know, but he's very fond of
But
it.
but like I play tellies as well, and I love them, and I've no like every guitar player needs to have a Telecaster. But
Yep.
from a mixer point of view, it can be it was you know it was you know it was could at times it was a little tough, but
Yeah,
so, and the continuity, trying to get continuity out of a Telecaster when you're on chords, it's really easy if you're on single strings, but when you're
yeah.
on chords, continuity can be a bit weird. But
What's
every guitar player needs to have a Telecaster, you know.
yeah, yeah. I got one
They're
just
the cool looking guitars.
for Mind Right, just
Yeah,
because
it really works, man. It really works.
like up until
But
then I was in just metal
yeah,
bands, so it was time to go into the more
yeah,
rock area, and I'm
yeah.
still learning that as well. I'm still like
Mm,
adjusting to be in a rock band instead of a metal one. You
metal
know,
band. Yeah, and I
I'm pulling
love
back.
Brothers. Yeah, and
Yeah,
I love that song Brothers, and I still
yeah,
listen to it. And I love Alibi. I'm so
yeah,
proud of Alibi. I think
yeah.
Alibi was just such good work that we really
You
nailed
did.
it. And I think the last session we done, which was the ballad, I'm so proud of that recording as well. I thought Tony sounded great. The band sounded amazing. I
Yeah,
thought it was a really strong song. So it's all good, man. It's all good. I was
it's
just
a great.
winding him up about the Telecaster. Now that was just especially for him.
Yeah, we worked it out before we started recording. No,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
no, yeah, I really enjoyed that album too. Like, I met Mind Riot in 2004. I want to say I was in
Yeah,
my first band, and that was back when they sounded more like kind of New York hardcore style band.
yeah.
And then we kept in contact over the years, and then we said we do My Own Cult, and then Mind Riot came back. Do you want to play guitar? Okay, sure.
Yeah.
But then it's like
Cool.
I have to change my whole style of playing and my whole like everything. But that's
Yeah.
good though. You know,
Yeah.
it's
And
nice to learn that.
tuning to D and just doing your thing is really
Yeah,
fun, you
because
know?
up until then I've been tuning to like A and B, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
fun. And I'm
Whereas,
like I'm
yeah,
trying to make mosh pits with rock instead of metal now, which is very
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, yeah,
But it's fun. I guess playing is fun again, you know, for me, which is cool.
yeah.
But
And they're such a nice bunch of people, man. It's just good to be out there.
for Cork lads, they're okay.
Yeah, yeah. Where are you from?
Tipperary.
All right.
Yeah.
Trip,
Oh,
tip.
yeah, yeah. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm in like near Castle, about 15 minutes away.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so
Excellent.
that's okay. But the second album, just back to that. How did you get Mr. Bennington, or was he just around? I don't really know that story.
Um, well, Chester, the Lincoln Park were kind of our label. We're looking at our label, um, and they were Chester was a fan, so
Yeah,
of the band. So Chester, you came to a few gigs, um, and then when we were mixing the album. And they were doing Hybrid Theory, and we were
yeah,
doing Crave, and we were sending roughs back and forth from the UK to LA.
Yeah.
and Chester actually wanted to sing on Crave,
Yeah. Oh my God.
which would have been a smash hit
It
if
really
we'd
would have.
done it,
Oh
looking back
man.
at it. And for some reason, myself and Deck were like, oh, sing on Karma Killer, which was
Yeah.
stupid, really, because he should have sang on Crave, in hindsight, you know?
Yeah.
Because it was such a beautiful, beautiful song.
It is.
And, but he wanted to sing on, so myself and Deck were in LA, and we were just hanging out with Chester, and we asked him to sing on it. And we were good friends with Chester. We were
That's
kind of
cool.
really good mates.
It's funny how you were both in
Before,
the same studio.
before all the, and Linkin Park were just about to release Hybrid Theory at that time.
Yeah.
And the day he finished doing, which is kind of a funny kind of fact about that recording session,
Mm.
as he came in to do that with myself, Colin Richardson, and Dave Bianco, who passed away
Oh.
unfortunately last year. Um, and he left the studio to go to the airport to go and do Conan, the first Linkin Park televised
My God.
appearance. Where they're done one step closer. You
That's
know that
awesome.
appearance.
Yeah, that's right there
Yeah,
at the
so
beginning.
it was the next day. Yeah, it was the
Did that
day
like
after we
did
done
that like
Camera Club.
blow your minds to see just how quickly and high they got, like
Oh
how
man,
far.
he was
You know what I
so
mean?
good, Ron. Oh Jesus, he was so good.
He
Like
really
there's
was.
no mystery. There's no mystery in this world.
Yeah.
There's no mystery, David. There's
We were
no,
just so
like
proud
people
seeing them
say,
get, you know.
like there's no mystery. You watch
Yeah.
Ariana Grande there. There's no fucking mystery, man. Like
Yeah.
people saying, "Oh, they had help," and there's no mystery. People now in Ireland are like, "Oh, Inhaler,
Yeah.
have you seen Inhaler live?" Like, there's no, they're
Yeah.
brilliant. It doesn't matter. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's
Like
just, you gotta be good. You gotta be the best. And
you can't
Chester was,
auto-tune yourself to sound like Chester. You know, there's
oh
no way.
man, like, I remember we were in the Magic Hotel, Houdini's Castle.
Yeah.
And when you, Jesus, even when I say it now, it seems, so we were in Houdini's Castle. Um, and because these girls we knew were magicians' assistants,
Yeah.
so they got tickets for us to go to Houdini's Castle. So myself, Chester, Deck went to Houdini's Castle, and this is the moment when I knew he was a superstar, and we got really fucking hammered, like seriously hammered now,
Nice.
and like we're in this magic place with all this magic stuff going on all night, just wonderful night,
Yeah.
and went back to our hotel in Hollywood and sat down, had the guitar, picked it up, started playing Nutshell, Alice in
Yeah.
Chains, and the fucking goosebumps, man.
Yeah.
I never ever heard anybody like that. And it's only when you're sitting on a bed with an acoustic and
Yeah.
someone singing with you, and there's
Like,
no mystery, David. There's
yeah.
no mystery.
Oh
Like
man.
the guy was fucking fantastic,
Yeah.
incredible and incredible singer, like beyond
Mm.
belief. When you're in a room with someone and they're just singing a song with you as you
Yeah.
play.
There's nothing else there, nothing to hide behind.
Oh,
So it's just there
dude.
raw. It's raw.
Yeah.
Like,
And like after so much beer and getting takeouts and you know the one,
yeah.
and like
Yeah.
suddenly, as soon as he sang the first line, sober, and
Yeah. Back to
just
reality.
total like, yeah, what's this,
Uh,
so just that good. And then like I was very friendly with Chester right up to where he passed,
um,
so really great guy, really good singer, no mystery dude, really good band,
yeah.
really brothers, real good people. Mike's incredible guy, just really good
Mm,
people.
yeah.
So
I was always a fan of them anyway. You know,
yeah,
even in my like, say my death metal
yeah.
period, I'd still listen to them too. You know.
Yeah, and just the backlash of it at the time, like, and how that affected the band as well, you know what I mean? That we were
Yeah.
getting, oh, boy band, especially when you come, like, when you're in Ireland and people are into fucking the Stunning and they're saying, "What are you doing playing with a guy in a boy band?" You know, and it's
Yeah.
like, you listen to the fucking Stunning, dude. Fuck off. And how that those kind of things
Yeah.
infiltrated the band when we were on Universal on a
Yeah.
$250,000 deal,
Yeah.
and we were being infiltrated by weird stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's
And I
funny.
think like the backlash of Linkin Park came upon us very heavily because, as you remember, when Hybrid Theory came out,
Yeah.
it went huge, and then the press just went after them. And
Yeah.
then our album came out in the
Yeah.
middle of the press going after him, so we got slated, man.
Oh my
We
God,
were
really?
getting slated
I
at
would have
that
thought
point.
I would have
Yeah.
thought people listening to that song would be like, see, Chester's great, you know? It's
No,
another example of him.
that came years out later after the band had finished. At the time, it was like, if you become big that quick, just like Pearl Jam,
Yeah.
people have an instant thing like, "Well, how come they're big in 8 months?
It's like
How
they're
can
good.
that happen?" You know?
You
No,
know.
because we know, because the singers are great. I'm
Yeah.
not a Pearl Jam fan, but I know Eddie Vedder is amazing,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I get that.
a billion people can't be wrong. Like Chester, a billion people listen to Chester, you
Yeah.
know. So
I always thought
uh,
if he sang for just a straight up metal band, nobody would notice, you know?
yeah,
Whereas him singing for Linkin Park, he just stood out more, you know. And
yeah,
like one of the
and he
last
knew, and I think what Don Gilmore was doing back then was very, very good. Their producer thought he was really rocking at that point in
mm,
his career. Obviously, Evanescence, Bring Me Back to Life, Hybrid Theory, Meteor. He was just making really perfect radio songs at that
you want to say.
point. Mm.
But like one of the last things Chester did was Lamb of God's guitarist solo album. He did a song on that.
Yeah,
And I was like,
yeah,
holy shit. Like so
yeah.
much screaming in it. It's unbelievable. You know, and I
Yeah.
think
And
maybe if
Sylvia recorded that, didn't she?
did she?
Yeah, she did.
I
Yeah,
have
as
no
far
idea.
as I know.
I have the album back there. I can't reach it at the moment.
Yeah.
I always buy them,
Yeah, it
even
was
if.
great. I love their version with Megadeth of Wake
Oh
Up
yeah,
Dead.
it's really cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm such a nerd, man. Sorry.
No, and being a nerd is me too. I'm the same. Like my last podcast there on Sunday, it was just an hour with me and a guy talking about corn for a straight solid hour.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I'm a bit. I thought it when it came out. Peace Cells, and I loved that. It's one of my favorite hammer-on sections. Is the
Yeah,
breakdown in Wake Up Dead. I
yeah.
love it.
Ding,
Yeah, I'm
ding.
not. I don't like lead guitar. I'm not
Yeah,
into lead guitar as such. But sometimes people just do things that are amazing,
yeah,
and just like "For Whom the Bell Tolls," the lead line at the start of it, just
yeah.
these magic moments and songs. You know.
But when the second album came out, how was the tour? I think
The
I caught you at the Ozfest in Kildare that time. That's when I saw you.
Yeah, that was really good, man. I think the tour was really good, and we were really picking up momentum on that tour. But like, we were having issues, like the management. We kind of had issues with the management, but it was, the management were gone. We signed to the firm. You've heard of the
Yeah,
firm,
I have you.
which was an awful idea. And we were kind of running with our pants down. We were playing really good shows, but we were really struggling as a marriage. Our
Yeah,
marriage was struggling, but the shows were amazing, dude. You're
yeah,
playing huge crowds, you know.
yeah, yeah,
But the orga, we were just, we were. It was amazing, man. It was like all the tour, the Crave tour, was like all the work we'd put in, and suddenly we were touring in the UK, and we were doing 1,000 people, 600 to 1,000 every night.
yeah.
We
Headlining,
were
like,
headlining, filling
nice.
venues, doing the Astoria, doing
Hmm.
good shows, and we were really rocking. And we had a tour bus. Finally, we were in a tour bus,
Yeah,
and we done the Alien Ant Farm tour. They had the Smooth Criminal out at the
Oh
time. We
yeah.
done that tour.
I saw them last year, or was it the year before, in
Yeah,
Limerick. In Limerick.
Limerick. Yeah,
They were
and
supporting POD.
but amazing dude. Oh yeah, POD. I know one of them. I can't remember his name now. I've hung out with him a bit. Um, but the um the Alien Ant Farm tour was, you know, it was really good, and Hell is for Heroes. And then we done
Yeah.
some shows with Linkin Park in Europe,
Yeah.
and Puddle of Mud.
Oh, I
Oh
remember them.
God,
I remember them. Yeah. Oh,
they were good, you know. And I
they were.
think
Yeah.
like, you know, like how to you heard a stadium band,
Yeah.
you know, when they done like the hard, like I'd no interest in them. And like there's certain moments when you're on that level and
Yeah.
you just see what it is, you know. And I remember they done those guitar harmonics at the start of Blurry, and they
Yeah.
extended it to 32 bars.
Yeah.
And the whole place was captivated. We're talking like 15,000, 20,000 people now,
It's
and they just
actually,
got the room moving perfectly. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's a
So
really good song. Like,
yeah,
you
you know, you
can't
can't
deny
really
it.
knock it, you know. So as much as you don't want to,
Yeah.
um,
No, I bought that album when it came out. There was some good stuff
yeah,
on
it's just a
it.
fantastic song, and fantastic, you know, just because music is entertainment, and you're trying to get bodies on seats, and
Yeah.
I think that the songs have to come from within you,
Yeah.
and you don't decide what genre you play. Most
Yeah.
bands I've ever met want to play something else, you
I
know?
never, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, so you just, and if you're true to yourself,
Yeah.
something comes out that's really beautiful. So that's how I feel.
Yeah.
But
We'll
the
find out.
last tour was amazing. It was really good, man. We had a really, really good tour. That's, you know, and then after that tour, I think the Ozfest, we took a break,
Yeah.
and we never were in a room together again.
Ow. There was no like talk
Uh,
about
I
it. It
think,
was just see
I
it.
think I think we met on stage in London because we'd a Metal Hammer gig that we were contracted to do.
Yeah.
And it was more, we met in the dressing room, walked on stage, played the gig, and left.
Oh man. I
So
can't
that
imagine
was
what
more
that must have
amazing.
felt like. That must have been weird.
Ah, it was,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah. But but it was an amazing experience, man. You
Yeah.
know, you can't knock anyone. And, you know, like I said earlier, that's just the way it is. And it's
Yeah.
kind of, it's the same old story, you know.
Yeah.
Um, like we'd been through a lot, obviously, you know, doing Crave because the label had refused it on the first version, and then we'd to re-record songs, and we done had to we re it was we had to do Drive No Stress, and we
Yeah.
re-recorded Crave. And then we done amazing remixes of Karma Killer that never got released.
Add that to the
Uh,
list too.
yeah, and by Bill Appleberry, who mixed No Stress and
Yeah.
Drive and
I
produced
noticed like
them.
no stress in particular sounds like different to the rest of the album too. You know, it's kind of
Yeah,
like an almost industrial thing going on, kind of.
yeah,
You
No
know,
Stress was the best, man. No Stress was
yeah,
Division, man. What I feel, even looking back at it now, that album should have been No Stresses.
yeah. Like that song was
Like,
all over
that,
crying multiple times
yeah,
a day.
yeah, and we were number one on Kerrang, and
Yeah,
you know, it's just when looking back on it, it's kind of weird, you know. But
yeah,
like I said, I don't think of it. I haven't
yeah.
heard the song in years. But if
Again,
somebody asks
another,
me what song should I listen to, I say No Stress.
yeah, it's another one of those songs with a great chorus. You know,
Yeah, and
uh,
I feel that, you know, with me, I was when No Stress and Crave didn't really. Well, No Stress was doing great business, man. All we had to do was follow it up.
yeah,
Um, but like I said, it was. But Crave for me was just a fantastic song. Like, you
mm,
know, I'm really proud of that song. Really thought it was amazing.
yeah.
You
It's one
know.
of those. It's like you're on it there, a puddle of mud. It's like one of those
Yeah,
songs, you know, the lighters
yeah,
and
yeah.
everything.
But yeah, well, and on that song we were in Dublin. We were recording in the factory,
Yeah,
and in the big room in the factory. So we were on home turf, and we'd the lads from America over, and we'd always been like Sylvia and myself worked on the first album on Mellotrons, and we were doing like Mellotrons, and we were doing kind of Chamberlains,
yeah,
and we had bits of like magic going on. Obviously on Generation Sapdex playing a juice harp. You know, we were
yeah,
doing kind of funky stuff, um, doing some crazy stuff but on No Stress, I think we started using Moogs. We were using MPCs.
yeah,
We were getting down with the proper tempos, you know. We were
yeah,
click tracking off an MPC, the same as Linkin Park. So we were creating that groove, that hip hop groove,
yeah. Did you use a
which
click
was
before then?
with Sylvia. We used to use a click in the verse, and then in the pre-chorus, the click would be turned off, and then she'd bang it back in on the downbeat of the chorus.
Oh, that's good because it will feel more like a natural build into the
Yeah,
chorus.
yeah,
Then, yeah.
yeah.
Ah, geez,
But
that's
we were so well rehearsed, Dave.
yeah,
Like stupidly, and as well, drummers generally speed up on the
yeah,
drum fill before the chorus, so it's
yeah,
kind of
yeah. that
natural.
that makes a lot of
Whereas
sense.
now, and back then, I suppose but um, and I think in hindsight, when we listened to that album, we thought it didn't. We were upset because it didn't sound like Around the Fur and
Yeah,
White Pony. We were like, "Fuck! Why doesn't it sound like White Pony? Why doesn't it sound like OK Computer?"
yeah.
And now we know because OK Computer and White Pony were recorded with Pro Tools.
Oh, really?
We were like, "We don't use Pro Tools. We use tape." You know,
Yeah.
you
Oh my
know.
God. I didn't know like people were using Pro Tools as far back as like 97, 98. Like,
I think OK Computer was the first serious Pro Tools edited
yeah,
and looped record, you know?
yeah. That's mad. It
Yeah.
was like around the
Yeah.
fur. What year was around the fur? 97, 98?
Yeah, but the converters were really bad, but it doesn't matter that
Yeah.
they were bad. That's what
All
I
right.
say to people. Like, I say, like, everybody's on about, oh, 64-bit, 196K. And I'm like, you don't listen to David Bowie, Let's Dance, and go, oh man, it's only 6-bit. I don't
Yeah.
like this. You know, you don't listen to OK Computer and go, oh, it's 16-bit. It's crap. You
Yeah.
know,
I know,
nobody
man.
ever done that. You know, you just go, this is Bohemian Rhapsody, you know?
That's it. That was
So,
so yeah. So
yeah.
what did you get up to since the band?
Well, I produced all my life now, man. I've been
Is
in
that it?
LA.
Did you get in straight away after it, or did you
Yeah,
take it?
I kind of, at the end of the Ozfest tour, I kind of had it organized that because it was getting really, the head was like really in a weird place on
Yeah.
tour, you know? It was really just like a bad marriage, like it's a marriage, like, and you got to say that they're like, just to say, so that there's no kind of, oh, everybody loves each other, you
Yeah.
know, but the marriage didn't fucking work. We don't need to have relationships because we
Yeah.
once had such a strong relationship. But we started, like I said earlier, we started as a business and we didn't really nurture our relationship.
No. You think that stuff
um
would have come on tour, you know, you're in a van. Yeah. I
Yeah, but
suppose.
then things get dropped down, you know what I mean? And people feel, you know, everybody has different emotions and different feels when labels and stuff come in. They're making band decisions.
Yeah.
And then people in the band are telling the other members what's going on. And the other members are going, are you doing this or is this
Yeah.
real? You know? You know what I
Oh
mean?
no.
So it gets a bit scatty, you know? And that's the same for every band, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but and I've seen that with bands I worked on. I think I went to the UK then and I went working on an album, Midget. They were like #1 in Japan. They had a huge record in the mid 90s. So I went to England working with them. spent a few months working with them on their first album. They just started to be like a new metal grindcore band, so I went and produced that
That's
for
an
the summer.
interesting mix. New metal and grindcore.
Frank, it just didn't work. But it was kind of, at the time, it was interesting, and I really wanted to be a producer, man. And I
Yeah,
thought the songwriting thing for me felt like if it was really an uphill struggle, a lot of it.
yeah,
Although I write songs now with people all the time, it's something I do for a living.
yeah.
So it's kind of different when you get paid to do it. Um,
I suppose.
Opposed to it being a passionate thing you do in your kitchen with your brother, you know?
That's
Like
true.
all like 90% of those songs are just me and my brother in my kitchen playing the guitar and singing with a notepad, you know?
Yeah,
That's what they are.
that's how it came
Um,
together. Like a lot of it,
in
say.
the end, which
That's how like a lot of the songs came together this year, and
yeah, that's
like
how they came together. And then we'd record them and we'd arrange them and put them together. That's what they are, you know?
that's cool.
So,
It's a
but
because you know that way. Then, if you were ever to do an acoustic set, it would work. You know.
yeah, we used to do acoustic sets, and maybe, and my bad on that is that
Oh,
I just wasn't fucking into it, man. I was like, fuck that shit, like, you know, I was just very
yeah.
against it.
To be
I was,
honest,
but as well, I was way younger.
yeah.
Like, I like the lads are all the nearest to my age is like 5 years.
Oh,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? We were on the Crave tour, and the lads in the band were like, "When you're our age, you won't be into this, and we want to get married." And you know what I mean?
And you're like,
And
no, I'm never gonna get old.
I'm never gonna get fucking old,
And
man.
then
But
yeah, then it
you know,
happens.
but I ended up getting married and having a kid and all that. But
There you go.
obviously, I had to develop my career because I didn't want to do a day job at a
Yeah,
certain point. You know, so I
yeah.
went on, and then I had the Rulers of the Planet, which were the best Cork band that ever lived,
Okay.
in my opinion. They were a fantastic Cork band. So I got their album and that just flew, man.
Yeah,
So I was kind of 2 years, maybe the second year off the Cyclefly thing, and done that album, and it's a masterpiece. I think that's probably the best album to ever come out of Cork.
yeah. Well, what would be the
Uh,
best? Your. I don't want to put you on the spot now, but the
yeah.
best say album you produced, or your favorite, or
It's so weird because you see what happens with records. They go, I think that's the one that I loved most, and I
yeah,
loved the guys, and I thought their first album had an energy, and they
yeah,
could have taken on the world, man. And they were coming. It was the same time as Arctic Monkeys were hitting, but they were
yeah,
doing a real snarly punk thing, and they signed to a major, and they had a lot really going for them, you know.
yeah,
And then the second album, kind of the same as us. The second album, everybody was trying too hard, and it fell apart, you
yeah.
know.
And like,
So I think that that's all it is, you know.
would a lot of that be like outside interference? You know, someone going, "You should do songs like this," or was it
No, I
just,
think that there's just a hunger from everyone that we can get this done together. It
yeah,
can be better if we pull together, opposed to it being
yeah,
one guy. He's the guy. He's the focal point. Like we think about my Mind Riot.
yeah,
Like Tony's the focal point.
yeah?
You know,
Although, like the writing sessions now are pretty
open.
diplomatic. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
well, we're all putting in
yeah.
stuff, and it's pretty cool
Yeah, yeah.
because
But at a
we
certain point, the buck stops with that
it
guy,
stops with Tony, yeah, which is
Yeah.
good.
So, and that has to be respected. But if you go and sign to a major and you're in a tour bus and then you get 200,000 to do your next album, suddenly
Yeah,
everybody's going, dude, we're freaking out here. We all need to fucking do this together because
I know,
it's just going to be shit if we don't. And
I
it's
know.
too much pressure on your shoulder. And,
Shoulder
there's
to the
nothing
wheel
wrong
kind
with
of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then it just turns into a big poo.
So, note to
And then,
self: let Tony do
so I've
everything
just seen
forever.
that an awful lot. I've seen that an awful lot,
Yeah.
David. That's
Oh
generally
God.
what happens.
Yeah.
That's why you see bands going into their second album and it getting a bit dodge, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and obviously, we were huge therapy fans. Like, and that's one thing that I see really sad about the music industry. The late '90s rock music in Ireland was so. I'm amazed that nobody has ever put out a record like late '90s rock in Ireland. Like we'd Curb Dog, Sheer. Remember
I remember,
Sheer?
I
What a
remember them
great
in
band.
Infliction. That album, such a great album.
Yeah,
Myself and
crazy album like
our drummer
Shane.
Niall,
Beautiful
he
song.
showed me them. We love that band.
Yeah,
That's
great
cool.
band. Wish You Were Dead, and
Yeah,
we had like
Howling Boy.
yeah, and Whipping Boy. Fucking well, they get credit because they have enough of the Irish thing to give them
Yeah,
credit. And you Therapy,
yeah,
Joyrider. There was
yeah,
loads of good bands, like So it's kind of, and a lot of really good rock bands around back then.
yeah.
So, and that great band from Limerick, The Driven,
The Driven. I can't say I've
they were
heard them.
signed to Polydor.
Yeah,
They were
I
big
can't.
in Greece, I think.
That's very specific.
Yeah, but listen to their album. It's like a punk, kind of acoustic punk record. It's
I'm
really
writing
good.
it down. I'm writing it down. The
Yeah,
Driven.
yeah.
uh,
Jesus loves you more if you can drive. That was their song.
fair enough. Yeah, just yeah, the late 90s. That whole alternate rock kind of thing died anyway. I like it
Yeah,
when I was talking to Cormac Battle. Like between the two Kerbach albums, Kurt Cobain died.
yeah,
So he
yeah,
noted he noticed straight away when that album came out that okay, that scene isn't there anymore. It's all Britpop and stuff like that.
yeah. And I think the placement with the where like Curb Dog's first album was is a masterpiece that sounds really crap.
Yeah,
The second album, like I remember, like Billy Bowers and all those people in LA saying they couldn't understand why it wasn't a world smash. It's
yeah.
such a good
You
record,
listen
and
to it now, and it's like, how come it
it
isn't as
didn't
popular
play.
as
But their placements weren't great. Like I went to see Ministry on the Filth Pig tour, and it was
Yeah,
Curb Dog supporting them. It was like, what the fuck is doing Sally with
I,
Ministry doing like Palm 69 and
I
all
know.
this stuff, and it was just like, what's going on
Yeah, yeah,
here?
yeah. There's like
Whereas,
risks and then there's risks.
yeah, whereas we were way more on the Ministry end because we were big Ministry fans. You
Yeah,
can hear it on Plastic Coated Man and all that stuff, that it's
I
all
can. Yeah.
the.
Wow, wow,
But
wow. Yeah, you
yeah,
guys
wow,
you
wow,
use a
wow,
lot of
wow.
WAV effects. I noticed that too.
Yeah, I think we were like, Jesus, I think the other guitar player had like two wah-wahs
Oh,
or
really?
three wah-wahs on stage, and I had one, and
Yeah.
Jesus, we were wah-wah mad.
I'd use
But
one. I only use one for one Wine Dry song, and in Fire, that's all I
yeah,
use a WAV for.
yeah, but I think we just developed into that. It was just the way it developed. It wasn't necessarily meant to happen. It just
Yeah,
kind of
I'm
became
pretty
that.
sure that band Snot were the same. A lot of their songs have a
Yeah,
WAV.
Slipknot, they've all got one. And Metallica, every song is one. Um,
There's someone
but
backstage doing his door, right?
yeah, it's kind of unusual conversation when you think about it in that way. But yeah, Curb Dog are incredible. But they did have Mexican Wave. They did top 40 Mexican Wave.
Yeah, I saw that video on TV before, like on a
Yeah,
mainstream
yeah,
during the day TV show.
yeah. So they did have a top of the pops. I think on the first album they got on top of the pops with Dummy Crusher,
Yeah,
and on the second album they got on top of the pops with Mexican Wave. Whereas back then, Top of the Pops was humongous.
yeah,
Whereas we were tickling at number 42 in the English charts, and we couldn't get it over the
yeah,
two. And the label, where we were asking the label, they'd given us like 15,000 budget on the marketing for No Stress in the
yeah,
UK, and we'd got to 42 or so, maybe 52, and we said, give us another 15,000 and we'll
yeah.
get in the top 40, but they just didn't give it to us.
Oh, well, once I got to Krang,
Whereas
I think
back then that was a big deal. Which,
once I got to Krang TV, I think it
yeah,
would have
well, a
got
number one on Kerrang TV,
yeah,
which was amazing. And
like
Kerrang was amazing, but like I said earlier, there was a bit of a discount. People in the band were just a bit old. I was a huge Kerrang fan. People
like
were a bit like,
we
what are we
say
doing?
early 2000s Krang. That would have been the place to be to get your video on.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It was the
you know.
place to be. And like, our singer was in the centerfold in Kerrang,
Yeah,
which
he
was
was.
just incredible. Like,
Yeah, your
you
brother is in the
think,
center of
like,
Krang. You're like, what?
yeah, and so like, but when you're in the bubble, you don't see that stuff. People,
No,
it's really weird, David. I'm sure Cormac Battle said that to you. You
yeah, he
don't
did.
see it. Did he
It's like
say that? You
he
don't see
say
it.
it came across as like once he had some time to process everything, he's
Yeah,
like, I did an album where Nirvana did Nevermind. Holy shit! I
yeah,
spent like a million other record labels' money on an album. you know, yeah, he
yeah,
just in the rearview mirror, and
yeah,
still, you did the things, you did awesome stuff, both of you,
yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah,
So it's kind
it's
of, but I still believe you can hear mad music next
yeah,
door.
it's
Um,
almost that time anyway.
yeah, but that's it, you know what I mean? So, and I'm now in the Funk House in Berlin, the DDR, decentralized radio station for East Germany.
Oh, cool, cool. I don't
Yeah.
really know too many German bands at the moment. I know one of my
Well, I
favorite,
met Rammstein in the hallway 3 weeks ago.
aside from them.
Yeah,
um,
they work here a lot, and
oh,
like Will
really?
I Am has a studio here, and
That's sweet.
yeah.
There's a German
So
band I know called Emil Bulls. They're really good.
yeah, and
Yeah,
Niels Fromm has a studio just down in this building as well. You know him, the classical artist.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
amazing. He's
So
here.
this is a good moment to wrap things.
Yeah,
Thanks for this awesome chat, man. This is great. And
yeah. Thank you.
best of luck with everything, and hopefully we'll do a Mind Right album down the road.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Yeah.
Come over.
We
I'll
can
come
we can
over and
bust Tony's balls again. That'd be great.
yeah, tell him how to do it. Yeah, breathe in, Tony. Breathe
Yeah.
in.
Leave the single coil at home.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's that.